Whoever said that technology is shrinking the world and making it smaller hasn't tried looking for a downed MH17 in the Indian Ocean. Well, Toastmasters, guests, and my dear members who have ever gone on a surging trip, good evening.
Good evening.
My MH17 was 20 years ago. And it wasn't an airplane, but it was a red, gleaming Hero Honda Splendor. This lean, mean machine, fill it, shut it, forget it, a very fuel efficient or fuel economy bike was gifted as a dowry to one Mr. Sachin Pandey. 20 years ago, back in a small town in Dhanbad, in a sultry summer evening, when marriages or weddings were at their peak, Mr. Sachin Pandey got married to a Sharma family and thus became the brother-in-law of Kapil Sharma, my best friend. I don't know how and where or what caused Mr. Sachin Pandey to become part of the Sharma family, but because it was such a complicated situation for our teenage brains. But the only thing and the only fact that we knew was, boy, was that bike something? So come the marriage ceremony and the farewell ceremony, and we waved off this wonderful newly married couple off to their hometown in Howrah, which is in West Bengal. And there that was left in the house was the dowry. Because it's very impossible for a marriage party to carry this such big machine in a train without prior preparation. So the responsibility of transporting this wonderful bike to Howrah fell on the shoulders of Kapil and I. Probably because the elders had seen us posing quite a lot in front of the camera when the wedding was on. So come next day, we go to the railway parcel office and take turns to ride the bike, reach the office, shine the bits and pieces that were muddy, dusty, and then talk to the parcel officer. Now back in that time, every parcel officer or every Indian Railways official was somebody who chewed pan and spat it out a lot. And their head was something that was seen to have been doused in an oil slick. Now these railway officials would never help the customer pack their parcel. They would just stand around giving helpful suggestions, while Kapil and I packed the bike. We packed it with plastic, paper and gunny bags. We packed it so tight that it could have survived the nuclear winter. We also made sure that we removed the rear view mirrors. We didn't want it to be damaged. But as luck would have it, we could not go along with the parcel. It was sent off in one train and we followed 48 hours later. It's a 4-hour journey from Dhanbad to Howrah. And in the morning when we reach, Sachin is there waiting for us. And the trio goes straight to the parcel office in Howrah. Then we meet another gentleman with the same description as I mentioned before. Pan chewing, spitting, with the oil slick. He takes the challan copy, looks at it, looks at us, looks at the register, turns a few pages forward, turns a few pages back, and then looks at it. Your bike hasn't arrived. He was shocked beyond belief. We told him, look again. This is the challan copy. It's not there, Baba. Somehow our brother-in-law managed to convince him to check the bikes. So we went to the godown office and we found that there were 37 two-wheelers that were waiting to be claimed, and none of them were addressed to one Mr. Sachin Pandey. So we retired to the Indian Railways cafeteria, cursing the Indian Railways, looking all downcast. My friend's brother-in-law was saying, I didn't even get to ride that bike. This was lost. Couple at that very instant pulled out the rear view mirrors and said, well, at least you have got the rear view mirrors. Sachin was visibly annoyed. What will I do with this? I don't know. Use it as a shaving mirror. Well, that didn't help a bit. Well, after refueling ourselves, we found out how many stations were there between Dhanbad and Howrah. Turned out there were just three. Three major stations and the remaining all 5 smaller stations. Took turns and called each of the parcel offices on each of these stations, till somehow we could deduce and detect that it might be in a station which is 1 hour from Howrah, and it's called Asansol. By the time dusk had settled in and we were too tired, so the next day we caught the first train and landed at Asansol. The dawn was breaking and we were there, with roosters, the coolies, and the stench of dead fish and urine. We went to the parcel office, which was obviously closed, and we waited among the stench of more dead fish and urine to wait for the railway official to arrive. Well, the person did come at the Indian Standard Time. And he said, well, you ought to have packaged it better. He said, we showed him a challan copy, it's here, right here, etc. I don't think you got it. My harmless brother-in-law, Sachin, somehow became Ravan. And he said, you know who I am? I know the commissioner of Asansol and Howrah. I doubted how much his claim was true, but I think it had an effect on the official. He took us to the godown, and it seemed there were 40 two-wheelers that were waiting to be claimed, and there were another 40-odd vehicles that had somehow landed over there by mistake. We went through each one of them one by one. And this official was standing behind and said, you know what? You should have put some marking on it or remove the mirrors. Kapil immediately showed me the video. We removed it. After a frantic search that lasted more than half a day, we finally found this bike that was somehow torn. Seemed like it had gone through a car wash, which was all muddy. And there it was, with a few bits and pieces with the address that there was a name called Sachin Pandey, with the address that we intended to send it to. We found our bike and we said, thank you, Sarji. We found our bike. Can we take this? He said, yeah, go ahead, just sign all these papers over here. As we were signing the papers, I was thinking, thank God we found it. I don't know what we would have done if we didn't. And I turned back to look at and admire at the bike, and there was Kapil, standing right next to the bike and screwing back the rear wheels. Mr. Toastmaster.